I founded Legacy in 2012. That's when I started my own team. That's what I had this idea, like of to be honest, like I always had this idea of working, having a full-time job. I studied, engineering and finance, and in my head growing up, I was going to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I wanted to be a black belt before I was 25, and I wanted to be successful and have my job in engineering or in finance or like on that area. And I would like to be teaching jiu-jitsu and training with my students at night, maybe in a small gym somewhere. It was never the plan to work full-time with jiu-jitsu until I was a few years black belt already. Before that, jiu-jitsu was just like something that I felt that I loved too much to work with it. I was really scared that if I did as a full-time job, that I would fall out of love with jiu-jitsu, and I would feel that it's just work and I don't want to do it anymore. So I resisted a lot to work with jiu-jitsu full-time for a very long time.
And what was the kind of reasoning of starting your own, I guess, academy rather than say what, I mean, and I mean, like, you've got Lucas up in Queensland under the Legacy brand and stuff like that. So if you're saying you grew up through the Roots system, what was the decision-making process between starting your own academy and potentially starting or opening another Roots location, if that makes sense? Or was that option never kind of available at the time?
It was. No, I did for a while, actually. We had, I had, my first academy was a Roots Academy under Paulo Guimarães. I feel that, like, Paulo has been for me, a lot more than just a professor, instructor, like, since he knows me since I was 15. So like I grew up under his guidance, following, to this day, the way I teach my classes, the way I think about jiu-jitsu and a lot of things, the way I think about life, I attribute to him, to his teachings, But when we were growing up and when I decided to move and work full-time with jiu-jitsu, I realized that there was one thing missing, in my opinion. I'm lucky to come from a great lineage of black belts. So I'm a black belt under Paulo Guimarães, who is a black belt under Professor Jorge Pereira, who is a black belt under Rickson Gracie. So I'm the fourth generation after Rickson Gracie in that lineage. But one thing that I felt is jiu-jitsu back in the day, there was one thing that we didn't have that we have now. The idea of, like if you think of your martial arts school from not 15, 20 years ago, if you had a karate school or judo club, usually you have your daytime job. You are an accountant or doctor or a lawyer. And in the evening, you are on the back of a council hall or the back of your house, and you have a little area where you train your students. They have a little attendance card that they pay you per class, or they pay you like a 10 pass, and that's it. It's not a business, so people don't really live of it. And I felt that, the way I was brought up in jiu-jitsu, I was never shown as, look, you can live off jiu-jitsu. It can be your profession. I never had that. So Jorge Pereira is a black belt under Rickson Gracie, but his academy was Jorge Pereira Club. It was never Rickson Gracie Academy. Paulo Guimarães, it's a black belt under Jorge Pereira, but his academy is Roots Jiu-Jitsu. I felt that and I saw other academies, like Alliance in Brazil, Gracie Barra all over the world, and a few others that started having Atos Jiu-Jitsu, that started having this idea, for example, of first taking your name out of it. Legacy doesn't carry my name. I used to have the TBFT logo before the Thiago Braga fight team. I started having this not only, and that's what I think Legacy means for me. It's an idea that I had of creating something that will live longer than me. It's something that I will pass on, and others will do it in the future. So going back to that, like I had with the idea that I had, I felt that the business structure and the way my professor Paulo was running Roots wouldn't have an opening for growth or for full-time work. I will have opening a Roots Academy, and we used to debate and discuss that a lot, but that was his business model, and I had to respect and either follow or leave it, and that's when I decided to leave and create Legacy. It was a bit of uncertainty, like what the idea that I have will really work, or is that the right idea? In these days, seeing the results and the people I have working with me, I see as a positive thing. I feel, that it does work, and I think for the sport, for Jiu-Jitsu as a martial art, as a sport, we do become more professional. We do become, also, we had a lot of resistance to becoming a service provider. Jiu-Jitsu has all that idea of loyalty. You have to be loyal to your professor, loyal to your team, and that for me was a bit of a conflict sometimes with you have to pay a membership that sometimes is very expensive, and you have to do all these things. So I feel that we are still providing a service, and we have to deliver that, and there is a standard that have to be met. And becoming more professional on this, it allowed us to in these days have academies like Legacy, for example, where we employ several people working full time with Jiu-Jitsu. We have a large number of members, and to take to this level, to in these days to be able to go on sick.com and be able to see Jiu-Jitsu instructors, wanted and with a full-time salary, it's amazing for me. When I started working full-time with Jiu-Jitsu, when I created Legacy, people will ask, oh, what do you do? I still don't know when I get to the airport what to write when they ask your occupation. Well, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor. Well, what am I? So I used to say, oh, I'm a Jiu-Jitsu instructor. Okay, but what do you do? I was like, no, I teach Jiu-Jitsu. That's what I do. Oh, but you don't have a job. I said, well, it is my job. It is what I do. And so for me, it was a big fight, not only to grow my business and grow the academies, but to get the profession of Jiu-Jitsu recognized as a real profession. And I think the main thing with starting Legacy and doing, and going my own way was to achieve this goal.